Scilly Stories, getting to know the people of Scilly. Kylie, how are you doing?
I'm good, Erica. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, I've had a fairly productive week for me, so I'm quite pleased. I've done some liner cutting and some printing. So, yeah, I'm quite pleased about that. How about you? What have you been doing?
I don't know. It doesn't feel like that much, but I must have done. I think just kind of like slowly closing the farm down, really, like getting ready for winter. And I've definitely been enjoying the slower evenings, lighting a candle now that it's dark. And we've even had a fire, which is nice and cozy, isn't it, on those dark winter evenings.
It's so nice this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, I enjoy the slowness that comes with it. You're ready for it, aren't you? So this week, Erica, we were interviewing your mum, weren't we?
We were. We interviewed Oriel back in June, beginning of June.
Yeah, that's right, down at her studio.
Yeah.
But I think you need to tell us, why do you call her Oriel and not Mum?
We've always called her Oriel. Yeah, it started when we were really young. She wouldn't let us call her Mum or Mummy.
Would she not?
That was too soppy. So no, Mum and Mummy wasn't allowed. So it was either Mother or Oriel, and for various reasons, Oriel stuck. Yeah, it used to be. We used to say Oriel, Oriel, because we couldn't say Oriel very well. Although it turns out I can't seem to say it very well now.
Which we've only just learned since recording.
I'm having to re-record this. But anyway, sorry, enough about that. Oriel is a real doer, isn't she? She does whiz around everywhere on her bike.
Yeah.
I'm sure she won't mind me saying she's 73 years old. And she might mind a little bit, actually. Think about it. It's okay, she minds too much. But she does whiz around everywhere on her bike. She has got an electric bike now, but she does go everywhere 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And we sometimes call her the whirlwind because she just doesn't stop. And she's always got a new idea. She's always desperately trying to start this and this project and help out with that. And she's absolutely brilliant. As my mum, I'm my mother, I should say. She is brilliant. She's my number one cheerleader, and she's so supportive of everything that I ever do and that my brother ever does. However, I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of her. She does have some very strong views about things, but we love her for it, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. She's great. She speaks her mind, but you always know where you stand. And
yeah. She's not afraid, is she, to stand by what she says. So that being said, if there's anything that comes up in this podcast, please,
yes,
don't write into us.
And if you're from Croydon, maybe don't listen. We were talking earlier about a little plaque that you made. Do you want to tell the listeners about this? Because this is really funny, I thought.
We did one Christmas, we made little plaques which had a picture of Oriel's face on, and underneath it was a little statement that said, "What would Oriel do?" And the reason for that was just because Oriel just gets on with things. She just never stops. And having this little plaque on our desk was supposed to inspire us to do some work. And I had one, and my brother had one, and I think some of the other people that worked at Phoenix at the time had one, like Dr. Vic and maybe Imogen. And we all had these little plaques just to remind us, what would Oriel do? Because Oriel doesn't sit around and do nothing like we sometimes do. She just cracks on and gets on with it.
Bit of inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that in mind.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. We enjoyed speaking to her.
Hello, we are here today in Phoenix Stained Glass Studio, which is owned and run by my mother, Oriel Hicks. And today we are interviewing Oriel. I'm here, Erica, and this is Kylie. And we've also got baby Elias with us as well today. So you might just be able to hear some little baby noises. And that's Elias, who's 6 weeks old.
Yeah, 6 weeks now.
And obviously we're in a working studio, so you may hear some background noises, and we may even have customers popping in and out, but we're going to give it a go. And Oriel, if you could start us off today, obviously you're my mother, so I do know the answer to this, but if you could say, for the benefit of our listeners, what brought you to Scilly?
I came at the age of 7 with my parents on holiday, and we used to stay on St Martin's in what was then Mrs Webb's guest house, and Teams, which is now Polreath, I think. And we came with my parents and my brother and we stayed for a fortnight. And it was 1959, and we'd had a heat wave for about 5 months, a bit like this year. And I learnt to swim in the shallows off St Martin's Old Quay, because it comes in nice and shallow over the sand. So it all warms up, and then it's all the same depth for a long way. So it was an ideal place to learn to swim, and salt water, which makes more buoyancy, gives you more buoyancy. And then the following year we came back, and I ran into the sea thinking it was going to be as warm as a bath, and it was absolutely freezing cold. So my second introduction to Scilly, the water isn't always warm and glorious like that. But we came for about 6-7 years, something like that, and then going home one year, my mother suddenly said, well, maybe, we've done Scilly for several years now, maybe we could go somewhere else next year. So I said, I was 13, I think then. So I said, okay, right, well, you can. I'm going to go to Scilly next year, so I'll see you when I get back. And I went, oh, okay. So the following year, they did actually. I was 14. They arranged for me to do a month's work with Mrs. Webb in the cafe and the guest house where we stayed. And they took me up to Paddington. I lived in Croydon. And they took me up to Paddington Station. They put me on the train. And I went down on the train on my own. I went over to Scilly on a helicopter. And I got up to St Martin's, and I worked for £5 a week.
I can't imagine that. I mean, I don't know if it's because I grew up here or if it's just because of the time. Times have changed, but imagine putting your child on a...
Yeah, as a 14-year-old, just to go down.
When I think back now, when you were 14, I think, what was my mother thinking? At the time, I don't remember being nervous about it.
It's similar with me, because I remember you used to pack me off when I was about 7 to go to a different island. So from St Mary's, I'd jump on the boat with my younger brothers, who were sort of 3 and 4, and we'd go off to another island and have a packed lunch and then come back. And I mean, we knew the boatmen. We quite often go with like one of my uncles or something, and we'd know somebody on one of the islands. But I just think now my children are that sort of age, I wouldn't pack them off.
Yeah, it's so different now, isn't it? Yeah.
But anyway, so yes, I worked there for a month, and then got myself back to St Mary's. Got back over to Penzance and got on the train without any mishap. They did, I think, ask for a guard, which you could at the time. I think probably legally now you can't travel by train if you're under a certain age. I don't know. But anyway, I did then.
What a life experience.
And they picked me up at Paddington, and that was great. And they'd had a terrible holiday because they'd gone to camping in Norway, I think. And they'd camped in a pine forest. And at that point, my mother discovered she was horribly allergic to turpentine and pine. And they'd had to strike camp in the middle of the holiday and leave. So I probably had the better deal.
Yeah.
Great social life, there was no pub. There was the reading room, and somebody got a record player, and it was like a disco every night, and playing cards and pool, and perfect for
pre-mobile phones.
Pre-mobile phone, yes. I used to go and phone them up once a week from the little local phone box, and that was it. That was it. I don't think Mrs. may have had a pet phone. I'm sure I didn't use it. And
wow.
Yeah, that was about 12 hours a day, because it was a guest house morning and evening, and a cafe in the daytime. 1 day off a week, £5 a week.
Wow,
which included my
team. Yeah,
and tips, obviously.
Yeah,
and all my food.
Wow. So when did you move here permanently then?
Well, I did 1 year for her, and then I used to just do seasonal. I went to St Agnes and worked in the fields then, planting bulbs, lifting bulbs, planting cabbages. I worked for several different farms, camping, instead of staying with somebody.
St Agnes is where your heart is, isn't it?
St Agnes is where my heart is. My favourite island. Yeah, it still is. And until I was probably 20, and then I moved to St Mary's and worked seasonally on St Mary's. And then at 24, I met my now husband, and I was still working seasonally, going back in the winters to work in Croydon. I hated Croydon. Didn't like it when I lived there. Didn't like it when I was born there. This has always been my spiritual home, really, the minute I set foot in the place. And eventually, after 3 years, we got married, and then we couldn't afford to live here. So we had to move to the mainland and work for about 7 or 8 years. He was merchant navy, so we couldn't get housed here because he was considered non-essential personnel. Contributed nothing to the islands, apparently, Mr. Hicks, although everything comes by sea. And then we had 3 children on mainland, one of which is stood before me here now. And when she was 6, 2 younger brothers, we all moved back to St Mary's, and then we've been here ever since.
Oh, Elias waking up.
Elias is waking up, hungry.
I mean, I know the answer to this, but did you want to talk to us about how you met my dad? And
Yes. I mean, I vaguely knew who he was because I used to work afternoon. I used to work seasonally doing like guest house or hotel work. But then in the afternoons, I also had a job working for a lady called Janet Heslin who had a pottery. And he used to walk past the window when he was going home. He was in college probably at that stage. So he'd just sort of come home in the holidays and work for his father, crewing on the boats. He would walk past the window of the pottery, and I'd sort of say, "Oh, that's Steve Hicks," and didn't sort of register particularly. I just sort of vaguely knew who he was. And then he was crewing for his father on the boat one evening. I think it was a St Agnes evening trip, either for gigs or for a meal or something like that. And so I was with a friend, and she and I started chatting away to him. So he was just about to go back to college. He was at Warsash doing Merchant Navy course. And he said, "Oh, yeah, you'll forget who I am by the time I come back again in 6 weeks." And I said, No, I won't. No, I'm sure I shall remember. Anyway, so he did come back in 6 weeks. And apparently we went to a town hall dance. And the only reason, because he's got 2 left feet and doesn't dance, the only reason he came up and asked me for a dance was to see if I remembered who he was. And of course I did. And I was so taken with him at that point because he was very funny and very good company. Terrible dancer. But that's not everything. And so that was that. And we started going out together. And within 2 weeks, I guess, of going out with him, my parents came over on holiday. And he was crewing on boats for one of the other boatmen at that stage. And my parents, I said, "I'll see you on the boat. We're going to St Agnes. I'll see you on the boat." And when they got down there, it was the boat that Stephen was crewing on. And they were talking to each other. So I said, "Oh, I see you've met my parents." And went, oh, this is your parents? So I said, "Yes." So I said, "This is Stephen that I'm going out with, and this is my parents." "Oh, okay. That's lovely. Nice to meet you." And then when he went off to collect tickets, I said to my mother, "Don't tell him yet, but this is the boy I'm going to marry. But he doesn't know it yet, so don't say anything, okay?" And I did. About 3 years later, that's exactly what I did.
It's so nice listening to your love story. Oh.
It was all downhill from there.
We're going to get his side of the story, aren't we?
Yeah, he's next.
The one thing that has held us together all the way through 46 now, nearly years of marriage, is we have a very, very compatible sense of humour, which is fairly cutting and very dry.
I was going to say dry, quick-witted.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you obviously spent quite a bit of time on the mainland and now in Scilly.
Yeah.
What would you say are the differences, in your opinion, of living on Scilly and living on the mainland?
The mainland, well, I was in Croydon on the mainland, which was horrible, dirty, noisy.
Let's just there may be some people from Croydon listening already.
There may be, and they will probably agree. Where I was, I went to school. I had to travel right into the centre of Croydon for school, and it was always, lots of traffic, lots of people. Nobody would acknowledge you. Here, somebody will acknowledge you as they go past us, just nod or say hello, even if they don't really know who you are.
Mm.
The visitors, a lot of them have learnt to do this, which is good, that you smile at people. I went to Gran Canaria with my husband's aunt on a holiday a few years back. And we were walking down into the local town, and she said, "Right, going to be my mission. I'm going to get everybody that passes us the other way to smile at us." So she would smile at everybody and say good morning, just like we do here.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting to see people's reaction. And it's the same if you do it on the mainland. Some people just sort of like look shocked and look away, and others sort of go, "Oh, good morning." I do remember coming back from Scilly years and years ago when I was working seasonally, and there was a lady with a small child looking very, very careworn and very stressed and tired. She was walking up the road. There's nobody else on the road. Walking up the road, and I was walking down, and I just smiled at her and said good morning. And it was like her whole day changed because somebody had noticed her and somebody had smiled at her, and and said hello. And it was just her whole face lit up and she smiled and went, oh, hello, yeah, good morning, and she walked away with a smile on her face. It's such a simple thing to do and it can make so much difference to people. They don't do it in the mainland. They think you're barking mad.
Well, there is a link, isn't there, between, eye contact with a fellow human
Yes.
and your happiness, how early you get that in the day. And I guess some people get up and won't have that other contact. But here,
yes,
like you say, you walk past someone and you kind of start
just eye contact with them and then smile. It doesn't take anything, not even say anything, just eye contact with somebody coming the other way and smile at them. And it can change their whole day.
Would you say that's kind of one of your favourite parts about Scilly?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, just that ability to connect with people.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a terrible memory for names, but part of it is because I know so many people and I should know their names. But on the mainland, you've probably got maybe 50, 100 people that you know by name-ish.
Yeah.
Here, you might not know them intimately, but you know who they all are and who their parents are, their children are, their aunts, their uncles, whatever. And you should know their names.
Yeah, remembering connections, which you've got to be careful of.
Yes, you've got to be very careful.
Forget who's connected over here.
Yes, you have to be very careful what you say about certain people. But yes, as long as you watch the time. It's connections here. And it makes it like a huge family. And everybody looks out for everybody else. On the whole, they should. And the good ones do. And it sometimes takes a while for people to get into this mindset when they move over. Some people never do. Some people are still always out for, I want this and I want that. And it's all about, me and my life and how well I'm doing without thinking beyond, I would actually do better if I help other people to do better. If I'm doing well, I don't want to be at the top of that ladder kicking down people below me. I want to be at the top of that ladder helping people up after me. And I think that is very important on Scilly, to have that attitude. And if you haven't got that attitude, you really shouldn't be living here.
Do you think, we talk about, you get kind of like a throughput on Scilly, don't you, of people coming for a couple of years and you get the people that stay. Do you think that's one of the things for people to make it and thrive on Scilly?
Yes.
You think that's kind of something that they need to be good at?
Yes. The other thing is learning to keep your mouth shut when you've just arrived. Don't walk in and think, I know how we can improve all of this and tell everybody. You want to walk in, see how it all works, see where it's doing good and where it's not, and then be very, very, very subtle if you think that something could be improved. And don't go getting on the council or this committee or that, whatever it is, straight away thinking, I'm going to change the world, because you will immediately make a lot of enemies. Because even if you might be right, but people won't want to be told that they've been doing it wrong for years by some incomer who's only just arrived. Yeah. You've got to blend before you can start to change very subtly. And even then you might not be able to.
Yeah.
Something we were interested in is what makes a good community member. So I think you were sort of...
I've almost covered that, really. Yeah. I mean, it's somebody who will make sure that they go out of their way to help other people and be as interested in other people's welfare as much as they are in their own and their own families.
Yeah.
Volunteer to look after somebody else, volunteer to help in a charity shop, volunteer to run something, whatever. Apart from anything else, you'll make a lot more friends, because that's the way to meet people is to volunteer. And
what I was going to say, linked to that, what would you say is the flip side? What would you say are the negatives about living
in Scilly? It's a very small place and everybody knows who you are, which can be a great advantage and it can be a great disadvantage. Everybody knows your business. People can be, including myself, by sort of just normal way of thinking, people are nosy, and if they don't know, sometimes they will make it up. And once gossip goes round, the Bush Telegraph here is very, very fast. And if something happens, for good or bad, everybody will know about it. If you are having what you think is a quiet little affair, you'd be astonished how many people on Scilly know about it. Or you're doing something that you shouldn't be, everybody will know very quickly about it. So you've got to keep your nose clean.
Or ride it out if you don't.
Or ride it out, yeah. What's the saying? I'll keep it clean. Don't mess on your own front doorstep.
Yeah.
Take it elsewhere.
we were talking earlier about, just before we started recording, about Solonian traditions.
Yes.
And you were saying about you used to collect something on Town Beach. What was that?
Yes, I think you still can. On Town Beach, I'm assuming there was some wreck or other, or they dumped a load of cordite. I think it was First World War time-ish. Stephen probably correct me if I'm wrong. And they're little tiny bits of brown. They look like little tiny lengths of brown flecks, about a centimetre long, and they've got like 5 or 6 holes in them all the way through. It's cordite, and it was used in armaments as long rods, but then they sort of broke up into these smaller bits, I think.
Okay, yeah.
But they always seem to be about a centimetre or less long, and they're washed up on Town Beach in where there's like coal dust there too. There are patches of coal dust always on Town Beach.
I think, is that from another wreck, or?
Probably, yes. So there's these black patches where all the coal dust washes up every day. Every day. And in amongst that, there are these little tiny brown bits of cordite. And if you collect them, they will burn once they're dry. And we used to, the idea was anybody who smoked, you would get their cigarette packet when they went to the loo and were in the pub, and you would put one of the bits of cordite into the end of their cigarette and hide it. So when they took it out and lit it, this bright orange flare would go off at the end of their cigarette. Highly dangerous. Not to be recommended.
Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. Yeah, exactly. But it's great fun. I still got some. And I mean, yes, it was always...
We used to collect it when we were younger. We'd line it all up into like little row, and then you'd set fire to it. It would all burn down.
Oh, cool.
But it was always a contest between myself and Stephen when we were courting. We'd go down Town Beach and last one to find a cordite to sissy.
Because you also get those little pipes, don't you, down there?
Clay pipes down there, yeah.
Yeah, and is that from when all the shipbuilders used to work there and
probably
they used to just dispose of their pipes?
They were very breakable and very disposable. They were cheap.
Yeah.
Just,
It's amazing, isn't it? All these things they kind of like find of kind of old things.
Lots of bits of plate with pattern on, blue willow pattern bits of plate on the beach.
It's quite nice, isn't it? Imagining what Scilly looked like a couple of 100 years ago. You've got this little clay pipe of this boat builder that was having a puff on his pipe whilst fixing something. It's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of history to Scilly.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think back then they were a lot more resilient as an island community?
Yeah, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have Amazon. They didn't have... everything had to be either grown or imported at great cost, and they didn't have a daily freight trip or whatever.
We have a couple of days where the boat isn't running, and
and there's nothing. People
fights in the co-op over a bag of carrots.
I mean, and people didn't all have cars. The workmen work in the fields, and they would pack themselves a lunch in a thermos and then put it on the backpack and then cycle off or walk off to work. They'd stay there all day and stop in the field and eat their lunch and then walk home again. They didn't go into town and back 5 times a day burning, gallons of diesel or whatever.
Yeah.
You walked everywhere, or if you were lucky, you had a push bike.
Yeah.
And that was it. Yeah. Very, very few people now. People, that is the trouble. People here now have got so bad that they will drive 200 yards to go to the co-op. I mean, they probably live closer to the co-op here than they could park going to Tesco's on the mainland. But they will still take the car and they want to park right outside the door. They can't walk. Young, fit, they can't walk 25 yards, 30 yards.
Yeah.
And, they will deliver. So you don't even have to carry back heavy, It's just... I don't get it. I really don't.
Do you think from when you moved here to now, do you think, the pace has picked up a bit? Obviously on the mainland, it's a very fast-paced life now, isn't it? And a lot of people say when they come to Scilly, they really enjoy the slower pace. Do you think it's kind of sped up massively in your time, as it were?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's 10 times the cars for a start.
Yeah.
I'm very quiet now because I have a car.
Well, so do I, actually. I bought one a couple of months ago. Only whilst I've got a baby. I'm going to go back to my bike. I can't put him on the bike yet.
Yeah, we have a van which we use. It's parked on the drive for most of the time. We both got push bikes. But obviously there are things I need to take glass down to the gallery down in town, or Stephen needs obviously parts for the boat, or heavy stuff to cart around. And we do need a van. But if we don't need it for that particular purpose, then we'll cycle. He'll cycle over to the boat shed, I'll cycle down here. I'll cycle down to the shops and load all the shopping in and cycle back.
Yeah.
I have now got to a great age when I've got an electric bike when it's working, which is very helpful. But it's still, by the time you've woven your way through the traffic in town, it's quicker to go by bike.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I live out of town, so it's, I don't know, 1.5 miles into the co-op. And I definitely find now that I've got a car and I'm driving, because I can't get the baby on the bike was so much easier. I just go straight in, park right outside, wherever shop I needed to go into. Yeah, but now, like you say, it's
I do prefer to cycle, just like you say, you can get to where you want to go much easier.
And I do find with cycling, and that is the joy of being forced to do that almost in Scilly, is it just kind of clears your mind. You get all your ducks in row before you're going to whatever the next thing is you're going to, rather than that rushing. It kind of, I don't know, it clears the noise down in your head, doesn't it? It just kind of like calms you before the next job, as it were.
Yeah.
But yeah, how are we doing for time, Erica?
I don't actually. I'm not quite sure. It just occurred to me though that we didn't actually cover what you actually do in Scilly. What you're
yes. What I actually do in Scilly. I'm a stained glass artist. Yeah, when I first arrived back in Scilly, they were putting a stained glass window into the big church, which was the St. Peter window, I believe. And I had done traditional stained glass when I was at college on the mainland in Reigate. So I knew how it was made, but I'd never seen one actually fitted. So I thought, I'm going to go down and see if I can fit this window. So I went in and watched them do it, and the vicar was there.
Hello. Customers just arriving.
So I went in and said, sort of half jokingly, you should have waited till I came back. I could have made you stained glass windows. The vicar said, well, funnily enough, we actually want one done on the other side of the church. So if you care to put in design, we'll consider it. I then, terrified, realised I had to sort of put my design skills where my mouth was and come up with a design, which I did, and it was accepted. So I got this place on the strength of having that job, because I knew how much money they had got to pay for that job. And that was about half the cost of what it was going to cost me to buy this place. So I borrowed a bit of money from my mother, and I got a bank loan. And I opened up here, made the window in about 4 months, I suppose. And then I had to start paying the mortgage thereafter, making everything else around. So it's just sort of grown from that. And now I've got 4 windows in Briar Church, 2 windows in St. Agnes Church, 2 big windows in the Children's Hospice in St. Austell, and 2 full-size stained glass windows in a little church in Laddock. So I bought a fusing kiln in about 2004. Went up to Liverpool and did a class up there for a weekend in glass fusing, which really all I needed to learn was sort of the firing cycles for the kiln, because I could do the design and I could cut glass. So all I really needed to do was to learn the firing cycles and then come home and practice in the kiln that I bought. So that was really all that I did in the way of training for fused glass. The rest of it is just experimentation and occasional videos I might have seen or whatever.
Years of practice.
Yes, practice. Absolutely, years of practice, yes.
That kind of defines you though, Oriel, doesn't it? You are a doer.
I am a doer.
You are a doer. You kind of put your eyes on something and you'll just get on with it and do it and give it a go. We were talking earlier about how, and it's kind of the same thing. It's, a festival needed organising for art, so you just did it, and then Creative Scilly, and then you just did it. You just kind of like, that's kind of your service to the community, isn't it? You just get on and do things, don't you?
Yes. Come up with an idea, and I know that nobody else is going to take it and run with it, so I'll do it. Yeah. There are a lot of class people in Scilly and a lot of studios. It's a very inspirational place. That's another thing why I love Scilly. Just the colours and the light and the things that the views that you've got and the wildlife that's here and everything is just very inspirational for any artist, really.
That was what my last question actually was going to be. What do you really love about being in Scilly? I think probably best
that and being a big fish in a small pond. You know, if I was in a studio this size on the mainland doing what I'm doing, the people down the road probably wouldn't even know I was there. Whereas here, the glass lady, yes, she's down. Everybody knows.
You are a spot, aren't you? When you're on when you're on your tourist trail, go to Phoenix, don't you? It is the spot.
Yeah,
I think that's lovely.
You have your own community within a community down here.
Yes, we do. And we spark off each other. We spark ideas of each other. You know, you might go into somebody and then they, I don't quite know how to do this. Well, have you thought about doing it? That's a good idea. You know, so we do sort of help each other out.
Yeah.
We'll all go and sit outside, have coffee and throw a few ideas about,
Yeah. Slow-paced old living.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I think you've got some new customers, so I think we better wrap up. But thank you very much. Welcome. That's great. Lovely to chat.
Lovely chatting. Sorry, Elias was so chatty himself.
Get a cuddle before you go.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. You can share it with maybe somebody that you know that likes Scilly and would really appreciate listening to us wittering on.
Yeah, but more interestingly, other people speaking about really interesting things. And if you want to follow along for more, check out our Instagram and Facebook, which is Scilly Stories Podcast.